Week 17 against the Cowboys, a chance to win the NFC East on Sunday. It'll be fun.
It's always fun when the Eagles play the Cowboys, and certainly a lot at stake for the Eagles. Nothing at stake for the Cowboys except a little pride. Eagles haven't swept them since 2011. This would be a good time to knock that one out.
It certainly would. This is the Eagle Eye podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. The game, by the way, if you haven't seen it, has been moved up from 4:25 to 1 p.m. That national slot now belongs to the Vikings and Packers, which I understand.
That makes sense, certainly. Both playing really well.
Yeah, but, I mean, that doesn't mean the Eagles-Cowboys game won't be good, even if there are two backup quarterbacks playing in this game. We'll talk a little bit today about the Eagles quarterback situation. We were in the locker room a little bit today on Tuesday. We're recording this on Christmas Eve, and then we have our power rankings and a bunch of listener questions to get to. But we're obviously the big storyline down at the NovaCare complex this week is about the quarterback position.
Yeah, and we don't really know. People are asking, how's Jalen doing? We don't know anything. And with concussions, it could go. He could be cleared on Friday, or he could not play on Sunday. We just don't know at this point. It's not unheard of for people to get cleared and be able to play the week after they suffer it, but it's not super common. But there's no way to know. And he could be through 3 phases by tomorrow and then not be cleared. It's just that every concussion takes a different path and different amount of time in each phase. So we really have no answers on that. We might not even know more on Thursday. We'll see if he's out there, certainly. But just because he's practicing doesn't mean he's cleared. You can practice non-contact up through the last phase. So you have to have no symptoms the next day after that practice. And that was a problem with Lane, I guess. Was it the Tampa game? He had cleared all the tests, but since they didn't have a practice for him to participate in, he couldn't get cleared. So I don't think they'll make that mistake again. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. If he can play, he'll play.
Yeah, you mentioned it's tough to clear in a week. That has been true this year, but anecdotally, maybe less so recently. And I don't know the reason for that. Maybe it's just because it's what we're seeing in front of us. But in this last week, Sidney Brown cleared within a week, and then the Commanders had Zach Ertz and Jeremy Chin clear within a week. Now, no one's advocating that they rush anyone through the process. You're talking about a brain injury here, but if we're talking about it in the scope of whether or not he's going to play this football game, I think it's certainly possible.
Yeah.
Now, Nick Sirianni was asked on Monday about whether or not Jalen would need to practice during the week, really practice during the week to play. Now, like you mentioned, he might need to practice just to clear.
Well, he has to.
He has to practice just to clear the protocol. But even if he's limited this week and doesn't get all the practice reps, I think they would not hold. I mean, he would clearly play.
Yeah, some guys just you need that practice week. Jalen's not one of those guys. If he's cleared, he plays. If he gets cleared at 12:59 on Sunday, actually they have 4.5 hours fewer to clear him because the game was flexed. But if he's cleared, he'll play and he'll be fine, no matter how many days of practice he has.
Yeah, I think that's the case. But if he can't play in this game, it goes to Kenny Pickett. And we talked about Kenny a little bit on the post-game pod. Any different feelings about the way Kenny played in that game after a few days of reflection?
No, I think if Devontae catches that pass, the whole narrative's different.
Mm-hmm.
He rallies. He comes in for an injured quarterback and rallies the Eagles to a win. That didn't happen. I think he did about what I expected he would do for a guy who hasn't played in over a year, facing a top 5 pass defense in his first game in a new system without taking reps during the week. That's a lot. That's a lot to overcome. And the difference this week, if he plays, he will be getting reps during the week. And it's a little tricky because if Jalen can be limited, he's going to get as many reps as possible. But you also have to make sure Kenny's ready in case he does have to play. So Jalen could be practicing, say, Friday and not be cleared yet. Do you give him all the reps, or do you have to give some to Kenny in case he does start? So it's a little tricky. Try to balance that all out. And that's a real possible scenario. But I think all those things will help Kenny Pickett. Look, he's not a great quarterback. He just isn't. But, he's won games in this league. I think he's tough. I think the more he plays, the better like Cooper Rush. I mean, the more he's played, the better you see him playing. And he just hasn't gotten reps. He hasn't gotten playing time. And, we'll see how all those things help him. But I still think he's one of the better backups. We're used to seeing a certain level of quarterback play, and he's not that.
Yeah, in hindsight, I went back and watched. I thought he did some okay things. I think a bigger problem was it looked like the offense and like the play caller was really hesitant to let him rip it. And I understand they had a lead, and you're trying to play that game too. But if you don't trust him to make those plays, that's a concern. Now, if you tailor a game plan to the quarterback, then you're probably a little more willing to let it loose a little bit. Right. But that kind of stuck out to me, that they seemed limited because he was in there, and I don't think that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think we touched on that in the post-game pod. I agree. I thought Kellen was a little slow. And look, as soon as Jalen leaves the game and Kenny Pickett comes in, the Commanders are going to just load the box. I mean, that's what you do against Kenny Pickett. And you just make him make plays to beat you and do everything you can to sell out against the run. And they did that. The Eagles didn't get any rushing yards in the second half. And I thought Kellen Moore, the play caller, was a little slow in going to more of a passing game when the running game just wasn't doing anything. I think it's one of the reasons Washington was able to come back. They just weren't aggressive enough. And, look, you have a 2-touchdown lead. You set on the lead a little bit. I thought that was a mistake. Yeah,
I get it. But also, if you have, they always say they trust the backup when he's in there, but sometimes the actions speak way louder than the words. And that's kind of what I saw in this one.
And some of that might have been just because he hadn't gotten reps during the week.
I think that's a lot of it.
I think you would see that change on Sunday. It needs to.
Yeah, it definitely needs to. Man, the Commanders loaded the heck out of that box. There's a great next-gen stat that I'm pulling up right now about how much they loaded the box. Here it is. So there's a couple of them, but Saquon gained 99 of his 109 rushing yards before contact on the first 7 carries. On his final 22 carries, -4 rushing yards before contact. He was hit behind the line of scrimmage 13 times out of those 22 carries.
Yeah.
And this tells you about how the Commanders were playing. They were in single high just 3 of the first 12 plays after Hurts left the game, single high on 40 of the final 59, which means they're loading the box. That's exactly, teams are loading the box anyway against Saquon. When they have a quarterback in there that they either think is inefficient or they think the play caller is not going to trust, and they're going to do it even more. And it's a tricky thing because you don't want Kenny Pickett to make mistakes, but you also want to throw them out of it a little bit.
Yeah, and look, if you trust him enough to be your number 2, I mean, he was a first-round pick. He's won games. I think he's 14-10 as a starter. Hasn't been a great player, but if he's your backup, you've got to trust him to make those plays, especially – if that defense is loaded in the box, and it was obvious they were, and it's great to have the analytics to back it up, somebody's going to be open. I mean, somebody's going to be open in the middle of the field.
Or you're at least going to have a one-on-one matchup for one of your star receivers.
And I like those odds. And look, Kenny Pickett made some nice throws to AJ, and including, if you include his DPI yards, he was over 160. What do you have, 67 in on those 3?
68.
You love doing
You
that.
asked me.
I know, I did. So he had 165 yards when he was targeted. So, and that number could have been higher.
And you're right. You brought up a good point about the narrative after a loss versus the narrative after a win. And it was razor thin. If they win that game, I think that a lot of the talking points about, even though I think as we're watching the game, we're not thinking Kenny Pickett's playing well. He wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't want to sugarcoat it. He wasn't playing very well, but if they win that game, we're talking about what a gutty performance. He comes in there, gets the job done. Wins and losses change so much of the narratives and the way we think about these things after the fact.
Yeah, and I think what we saw was he never got into a rhythm, and I think that's partly him. It's partly not playing in a year. I think the last time he played was week 10 with Pittsburgh last year. I think part of that's on Kellen, and that's been a problem with getting Jalen into a rhythm early. Finally did last week, and they scored 21 points in the first quarter and lost. Doesn't happen. That does not happen.
They finally scored in the first quarter, right? And it didn't help them win the game.
Yeah, they've got 31 points the last 2 first quarters. But yeah, Kellen's got to do a better job with that. And it'll look, that Dallas defense is no joke. I mean, they're playing well. Their secondary is physical, and they will punch the ball out, and they will they play they play tight coverage, and they have some real ball hawks back there. So it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough game on Sunday. They're playing a lot better. We'll get into matchups later in the week, but it's not a pushover game like we thought it might be after they beat them in Week 10.
34-6.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all of a sudden a much more interesting. And look, you still have that Giants game and Drew Lock in your back pocket if you need it, but that's the last thing this team wants to do.
And it'd be a big deal to wrap up the division, get the 2 seed. Honestly, like the 1 seed is such a minimal chance at this point.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at, there's a lot of scenarios where you wrap up that 2 seed this week. And in a way, that's probably the best thing. You get it out of the way, you wrap it up, and then Week 18 becomes your bye week.
Yeah. And then if Atlanta beats Washington, I think that game's in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see that happening. I think they're going to have to take care of it themselves.
Atlanta's playing pretty well.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, but you don't want to lose this game. You want to win this game.
Absolutely.
Take care of it on your own.
So you have to wait 6, that's a night game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you have to sit around and celebrate a division title when you're back home.
Yeah, it's not great.
Not ideal.
Yeah. I do want to talk about Tanner McKee a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I got a lot of we had some emails come in. I'm sure you saw a lot of social media chatter. Like, would they think about Tanner McKee? And look, I like Tanner McKee. I thought he outperformed Kenny Pickett most of the summer. I think there's a lot to really like about McKee, but he's never played in the league. They traded for Kenny Pickett. Like, they're just not going to turn the ball over to McKee.
And they shouldn't. And as much as I want to see Tanner McKee play, and I think he might be really good.
Yeah, like if I had to pick who I want to watch in this game,
right,
it would be Tanner McKee.
No
but
question.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And Pickett didn't play poorly enough to go to your 3, who's never played in the league. I think if Jalen, if something happened where you find out he's going to be out 6 weeks, like early in the season, there aren't 6 weeks left. There might be, but then maybe you think about starting Tanner McKee for that stretch. Look, maybe if you're down 10-0 in the third quarter and Kenny's not doing anything, maybe you consider a change there and go with Tanner. But yeah, I'd rather see Tanner play. But I certainly, if I was making the call, I'd go Pickett. You have to.
Yeah. Now we can question whether or not they should have made the trade and whether or not they should have just gone with McKee as the backup, he's in year 2. So if part of the reason you drafted him was you thought you can have a cheap backup for a couple years, I mean, you've now used 2 of his years as the number 3. So you can question all that,
sure.
But they wanted the experience and they have it in Kenny Pickett. So I think that's kind of the situation. Now, if Jalen Hurts gets ruled out for this game, then McKee will be the backup. He's 1 injury away. Ribs injuries, even if Kenny Pickett's good to go, they don't disappear. So McKee's going to have to be ready.
Yeah, and I think he will be. Confident kid.
Started warming up on Sunday a little bit when McKee suffered, or when Pickett suffered that ribs injury.
Yeah. You spent some time with Tanner today. What was his take?
Yeah, he says he's trying to always be ready, which can be a little difficult in his role. He's inactive on game days, but he dresses. So it's that relatively new rule in the league after the 49ers complained their way into making it a new rule that you have a third quarterback dress. He's inactive, and it would take both other quarterbacks getting hurt to be able to put him in the game. But he got close on Sunday, and he had to be ready. And I think that's a really difficult thing. If you're the backup and you're 1 injury away, I think it's probably easier from a mental side of things to be prepared. You're the 3. I mean, the odds of you playing are not great, but he got pretty close on Sunday.
Heck, we saw Brian Mitchell have to play for Washington many years ago, and all their other quarterbacks got hurt. But I wonder who the emergency QB is.
I think it'd be a Saquon Wildcat, maybe actually get to throw the ball, unlike that play down at the goal line.
He got sacked.
He did get sacked.
They called that a sack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe run the wing tee.
Yeah, I don't think they have the wing tee installed. I think it would be a lot of just wildcat.
Vic probably faced it early in his
He
career.
probably did. You ever cover a high school team that runs it?
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, many of them.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
I
If
mean,
you like old school football.
Yeah,
it's fun to cover because you get out of there pretty quick.
Paulsboro ran it with Flipper Anderson,
Okay,
who obviously went on to a really good NFL career. I think he had the single game receiving record at one point, 320. Stephon Page broke it, maybe, or the other way around. But
did you ever see We Are Marshall?
We Are Marshall,
the movie?
No.
It's about the Marshall football program after the plane crash.
Yeah.
It's a really great. You would actually enjoy that movie. But in the movie, they go to West Virginia to ask them about running the veer because they didn't really have they didn't have a quarterback. So in West Virginia, even though they were rivals, kind of handed over all their tape and at least in the movie, I don't know the real story, but they handed over all their material and they learned how to run the veer.
Do you remember that?
Didn't think we'd be talking about like 1950s offenses in this.
Who podcast. Was it Byron Leftwich? Who was the guy who got hurt?
It was Leftwich, yeah, and his offensive line carried him down the field.
Was that Marshall?
Mm-hmm.
And one of those offensive linemen ended up playing for the Eagles. Do you know who that was?
Oh, no, I don't.
It was Steve Shulo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That gave us a good built-in story when he signed here. Steve Shulo. Yeah. Marshall. Steve Shulo. How do you spell Shulo? Sciullo.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Steve Shulo graduated from Marshall in 2002 and started 5 games at left guard for the Eagles in 2004.
How about that?
So he was one cheating quarterback and coach away from Super Bowl ring with the Eagles.
Okay. Want to get back to QBs a little bit?
Yeah.
It was funny. On Monday, I asked Nick Sirianni about game planning in this unique situation.
He gave you a great answer, Dave.
Yeah, he was not very illuminating at all on Monday, but this was like especially strange. He was like, basically, we're prepared for anything, if any of the positions, if a player's missing. And it's like, how can you say that? This is the quarterback position. This is a lot different. And you have varying skill sets between these two quarterbacks. And it gets back to the thought of like Marcus Mariota last year, even though he wasn't very good. Like the theory behind that was you have a guy who runs the same style or can kind of do some of those same things stylistically so that you don't have to like lop off parts of your playbook. Now, if that guy doesn't exist or you can't find him, you don't do it. But I was thinking about like Justin Fields a little bit. He was out there. He was available.
Yeah. 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 It's and you can't have 2 more different quarterbacks than Pickett and Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something to be said for that. And interestingly, Justin Fields went to the team that traded Kenny Pickett, but his answer was weird. It's almost like he was equating it to like if Becton gets hurt and you have to put Tyler Steen in, like it's not the same.
It's definitely not the same.
Yeah, he had a bad attitude Monday. He was.
I don't know if it was a bad attitude.
He had a bad attitude. He wasn't interested in.
I even followed up. I was like, "What?"
You did. Dave followed up.
What are we doing here?
What are you talking about?
I said it nicer than that, but that was basically my follow up. I was like, "What? What are you doing?"
You said something like, but with quarterbacks, isn't it a little different? Like, no, every position is the same.
It was kind of a quiet locker room day on Tuesday.
Putting it mildly.
Saw some Christmas presents around.
We saw James Bradbury.
Did see JB.
He looks healthy.
Walk through the locker room.
I think his rehab's going well.
Every once in a while, we get a question about James Bradbury in the email, and I don't include them because I don't know. What do you want me to say? Yeah, he's kind of around, but he's not going to play. So
somebody said he's here. He's making a lot of money. He's not doing anything, just like me. I mean, not me, meaning themselves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Self-deprecating, taking a shot at you.
Yeah.
I like that better.
Yeah.
He's around. He
Yeah,
played the most snaps on defense for this team last year.
He did, over 1,000.
He's a complete afterthought this year.
Yeah. You forget that he's here until you see him.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Nice guy.
Played well 2 years ago.
Certainly. New scooter in front of the tight end room. I don't know, or tight end lockers. I don't know if it was Grant Calcaterra's or someone else's.
Yeah, we saw Goddard was testing it out.
Mm-hmm. He just rang the bell. Lane Johnson had I don't know if it was his or he was giving it out, had a scooter with a seat on it. He was rolling through a locker room.
Those are the highlights of the locker room. Did you? I mean, I talked to Braden Mann a little bit about his issues, and he was, he said, I got to be better, and he talked about like when it's really cold, the ball's obviously not going to go as far, but the key is placement. Like if it's not going to go as far, you can't kick it right to like Turpin. You're
dangerous this week.
You gotta, I mean, Bonesy will have those guys ready, but you gotta, move it around. He was pretty down on himself, but he's been pretty good on those kickoffs. Michael Clay left it a little bit open to try Jake Elliott.
I don't know why they haven't done it already.
He didn't rule it out. I think part of it is they want to try to preserve Jake's leg. They don't want him kicking that much, but
I don't know. The best years he's had in the league, he's done it. So
he's older. I don't know. It might go back to like, is his leg as strong as it used to be? I don't know. But whoever does it, they have to be better. I mean, they were giving up and the coverage wasn't great either.
Yeah, the average start position after kickoffs for the Commanders in that game was their own 38.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's not great.
You do that to the Cowboys, they're in field position for a field goal as soon as they get the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, 20 yards, and they're kicking a field goal. So that's an issue. They got one of the best returners in the business, obviously, and it looks like it's gonna be a warmer day. So in theory, the ball will travel farther. I asked Michael Clay, special teams coach, if Braden has the leg to get the ball, like at least inside the 5 on a really cold day, and he said, well, he didn't really answer. He just said that's where you have to move it around. Yeah. But I mean,
well, he did in this game. There was a few that he did.
There was, I think, one, right? He had one.
I think a couple
to the goal line.
Yeah,
but he was getting under the ball, he said, and but that's going to be huge. I mean, you can't give an offense like that. And Washington's offense is good. Can't give him extra 20 yards of drive. Even Vic made a mention. I don't think he meant to, but he's like, we started with some really bad field position.
He's right.
He's right.
And like for the most part, the defense this year has come through when they've been put in bad spots. This was a little different.
It was. And they started out okay. Bless you. But yeah, it's going to be something to watch certainly on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Anything from Vic Fangio that stood out? I was in the locker room while he spoke.
No, he just, he was really honest about, I asked him what he picked up from watching the film, and he says just what we thought just on the fourth quarter, just guys out of position. He had to blitz more than he wanted to because they weren't getting any pressure, and Jaden Daniels just too good. I think it's just tough when a quarterback gets hot. It's really hard to slow him down sometimes, and that's what we saw. He wasn't happy with some of his calls. He took that on himself, and he talked about the touchdown, the last touchdown. And, look, Zach Bond's been incredible this year, but he didn't have the depth that he should have had on Crowder. That can't happen. So I asked him about, look, this is the youngest defense in the NFL. I asked him how he feels they're going to bounce back, and he said he thinks they have a really resilient group and that they've shown it all year when they've been put in difficult positions. And he said that his confidence in the group is as high as it's been. I talked to Nakobe briefly about that, and he said, we have a group that really believes in each other and believes in ourselves. And he said, one game like that, one quarter like that's not going to shake our confidence. He said, if anything, we feel more confident because we went out there and forced 5 turnovers, and we know we have to play better. But if we can keep getting those takeaways and make some adjustments in coverage and pressure, we'll be fine. So, yeah, we'll see. But it was definitely slim pickings in the locker room. I don't think I talked to anyone else.
I talked to Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson in there, getting ready for Micah Parsons. He's playing really well.
Yeah.
For the most part, he lines up over the right tackle, so it's going to be a lot of Lane. I mean, it's just tough duty. Like he's playing at such a high level right now.
He's relentless, and man, I don't know if he's going to stay in Dallas or what, but how good we look in the Eagles uniform. Get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
But
we get a lot of those questions about Micah.
He gobbles up so much space so quickly. He's so fast and so powerful. And when he gets his hands on you, I mean, he's just so strong that it's over.
The one thing Lane brought up is like he'll make you overset because of his speed, and then he's so good kind of getting skinny and getting back inside.
Interesting. Yeah, big challenge.
I think that's all we have from the locker room today. Let's take a little break. And then on the other side, we have our top 10s to get to in our power rankings, and then a ton of questions as well.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
Rube, I generally like doing these power rankings with you. This week got a little tricky.
It did. They're fun, though.
They are fun. Let's start. Last week, your number one team was the Bills. Last week, my number one team was the Eagles. Neither had particularly strong performances.
Well, but the Bills did manage to hang on and beat the Patriots.
They did.
24-21.
Who's your number one team?
I kept them there.
Did you?
I kept them there. I mean, they won. They're 9-1 in their last 10 and 12-3. I wasn't going to knock them out of the top spot with a bad win.
Yeah, I get that. I actually dropped the Bills a little bit.
If I dropped teams every time they had a bad win, the Chiefs would be like 17. Because you would keep dropping.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
But we don't have a 17. But that's where they would be.
My number one team is the Chiefs. At a certain point, I don't know what else to say about them. They keep winning these games. And they had a better win this week. They just feel inevitable to me. And they're going to get that 1 seed. They're going to have a bye. Yeah, I don't have an explanation for how they've won so many of these games, but
their quarterback's really good.
That's one of it.
Their coach is pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to win the AFC.
You think it's the Bills?
I'll take the field.
You think the Bills are going to go there and beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game?
I'll take the field.
Okay. Who else would it be in the AFC? The Ravens?
Could be the Ravens.
Okay. I have the Chiefs 1. Who's your 2?
Chiefs.
Okay. I have the Lions 2.
Okay. I have Lions 3. So you have the Bills 3.
I have the Bills 4.
Oh. Vikings?
Eagles 3.
Eagles 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So run me through your top 4.
Bills, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings.
Bills, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings. Then you have the Eagles 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have my top 5 is Chiefs, Lions, Eagles, Bills, Vikings. I dropped the Eagles 2 spots because I had them at 1 last week. It was a loss. I thought they did some good things, and it's a loss without their starting quarterback. You know, I still think they're the most balanced team in the league. I still think they have the most talent in the league.
I guess what happened in that fourth quarter defensively kind of scares me. And I want to see how they respond.
I guess that, but you can also look at it like they made the game-winning play. They made it. And they were asked to do it again and couldn't, but they made it. If you look at it that way, right? Like they got the interception.
Yeah.
They gave the ball back to the offense. You had to just get one more first down.
That's what made that game so weird. I mean, you got 5 takeaways and, but giving up 22 points in the fourth quarter to a rookie quarterback who's granted he's really good, but
you still consider him a rookie at this point? I know he technically is.
He's a rookie. He is a rookie. I mean, it was his 15th start. Yeah. So I had the Eagles. I feel like I need to put the Vikings and Lions ahead of them.
I'm still not buying the Vikings. I just don't buy it.
8 straight wins.
I get it. Not a ton of quality in there in terms of those wins. And I know like they're doing what they need to do against the teams they need to beat. But if I'm doing a power rankings and trying to figure out like if I think they're the best team or not, like they're not going to probably win that division. I think that's still going to go to the Lions. Now they have a chance.
You're probably right. And when that happens, I'll bump them down. I mean, yeah, right now they're both 13-2, and obviously one of them is going to be seated below the Eagles. And after next week, I might have the Eagles ahead of them. But for now, I like where the Eagles are.
I think they're going to lose this week. The Vikings
could very well
to the Packers.
Yeah. That's a fun game.
Speaking of which, I have the Packers at 6.
Same.
Okay.
Oh, we'll be the same from 6 out.
I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe. Who's your 7?
Ravens.
Who's your 8?
Steelers.
Who's your 9?
Commanders.
Commanders.
I went Rams 10.
I went Chargers 10.
Okay. Rams 8-2. They started out 1-4. They're 8-2 since. They've won 4 in a row.
Yeah, they're now leading that division.
Yeah.
For a while, it looked like Seattle was going to take it. For a long time, it looked like no one wanted to win that division.
Yeah.
But the Rams are coming on strong.
And the Eagles are not fortunate. I mean, they've earned it, but it's just the way it plays out. I mean, there's no other division leader who can challenge them for that 2 seed.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they have the 3rd best record in the conference, the 2 ahead of them are in the same division. Only one of them can be seated ahead of them. So that's why it's almost a lock they'll be the 2 seed. What do you think of the rule that the 2 seed doesn't get a bye anymore? I mean, they did it to add an extra wild card round game.
I mean, you can't have a bye with the amount of teams that are in.
No, that's what I'm saying.
So yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want that extra team in there.
Well,
you want to get rid of that extra wild
I don't
card?
want to get rid of it. I just didn't like when they added it.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to get rid of it. That's never going to happen. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, but I liked when the top 2 seeds got a bye. I thought that was.
I think I have that copywritten, that saying.
That was a little. I thought it was equitable, but. So who do you have 10? I'm sorry, you have the Chargers.
Yeah.
Okay. Rams are looking better. I didn't think they had it in them.
Yeah, they've been playing. I mean, that once they got their receivers back, it really changed the whole complexion of that offense.
I thought about putting the Commanders 8 ahead of the Steelers, but
I did too, actually. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, that was fun.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you something. This is not on our little rundown. What was your thought on the broadcast team Sunday in the Eagles game? Because I was at the game, I didn't see it, and I had not gone back to watch it, but I knew that Eagles fans were not happy. And then it's a funny way this thing turned is that they end up with this game again. People are angry at Greg Olsen.
I mean, in general, I like Greg Olsen. I don't listen. I have I have my earpiece out in the studio, and the only time if there's like a challenge and I want to hear like the rules interpreter guy, I'll stick my earpiece in and hear that, but I don't listen. I figure they don't know anything that I don't know. So I don't need to.
I don't know if that's true.
Well, you might not, but I do.
Okay.
I don't find I found them distracting. It's not really a knock. It doesn't even matter who it is. I never listen.
Okay. Typically I really like Greg Olsen, but apparently he was kind of.
What was the issue?
For this is like I'm reading, and it's funny because I tweeted out the broadcast team for this game is Joe Davis, Greg Olsen, and Pam Oliver, and it got ratioed on Twitter because people are not happy. Apparently, like he was basically like overlooking the fact that the Eagles lost their starting quarterback in this game. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't, and I'm probably not going to go back and listen to the broadcast version.
Yeah.
But that was the issue, or one of the issues.
That's probably a big issue.
He was like surprised that Washington's hanging tough in a game where the Eagles don't have their starting quarterback.
I mean, I thought it was going to be a close game. Even, I thought the Eagles were going to win. Well, I guess I picked 30-17. But yeah. Yeah, I just don't listen.
Okay.
I'll listen if I'm at home, like, and there's a game on. But when the Eagles are playing, I just find it distracting. Plus, I'm trying to write. I'm just yeah.
Okay. I just want to ask you that because every week I put out the broadcast teams, and this week, I mean, it got retweeted 129 times. It's just like a throwaway tweet I do every week to let people know.
There you go. Maybe I'll listen this week.
All right. Questions? Want to do that?
Yeah.
This is where I remind everyone, if you have a question for us, it's eagleeye@nbcuni.com. If you're watching on YouTube, you have that QR code. You can scan it there and send us a question that way.
I would just like to say, we're the only people we're the only people here.
It's Christmas Eve.
I just want everyone to know, like you might be sitting there saying, you know what? They're not going to do a podcast. It's Christmas Eve. We're here for you. We're here for one reason, for you. So you have an Eagles podcast tonight.
Okay.
There wasn't even, how many people were down at the NovaCare? It was like 8 of us, 10 of us today.
Yeah, there weren't many.
Just a hardcore. Even Vic Fangio comes out and says, where is everybody? A skeleton crew here today. All right.
We're going to play the games. Alex is here for us producing this podcast. We appreciate that. Let's get to the questions.
Kind of here.
First one from Jack. Hi, Reuben Dave. Is that loss to the Commanders a blessing in disguise? There's now a very good chance that the final game of the year will be a garbage time game that plays no real outcome on our seeding for the playoffs, as I'm firmly sure we'll be finishing up as... Oh, this is not correct. But basically, is it a blessing in disguise that they lose that game? Because now, like, if they end up with the 2 seed, they get the rest in week 18.
I really just don't think losing is ever a blessing in disguise. I get that. I guess it's positive you end up with that game not meaning anything. You can rest people, but it's hard to look at it that way, I guess. There
were still outcomes where, like, you win that game and you still don't have a shot at the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Now, without that win, you really have no shot at it. Right. I think the upside of the 1 seed supersedes.
Supersedes.
Yeah. Supersedes
That's a good one.
Getting a week 18 rest.
I agree.
But it's kind of like a silver lining thing.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, like that ends up, like that could be your bye week in week 18 if you take care of business this week.
Yep.
Okay. Next question from Julian. In my opinion, this loss was on coaching. I don't understand why Pickett is the backup except for veteran deference or sunk cost fallacy due to giving up draft capital to acquire him. McKee is better and should be the backup. Secondly, the play calling by Moore was just horrendous once Pickett enters the game. Endless runs on first downs did not accomplish anything other than putting us further behind schedule. If you're going to commit to running the ball on first down, no matter what, at least get out of the shotgun so your play selection, inside zone is somewhat less predictable. Horrible coaching performance on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, we've talked about that. I don't know how. I mean, what are people basing Tanner McKee? Like, nobody's seen him play. Seen him play in preseason,
and I'm probably like reporting from training camp. I would guess.
So preseason, he's playing against threes, the other team's threes. Now, look, I like him and everything, but you can't just, and like you said earlier, I mean, if you want to take issue with the trade, that's valid. Mm-hmm. Given to go out, but once Kenny Pickett's here, Tanner McKee's not going to be the 2.
Yeah, I think like that decision is out of the coach's hands once the trade is made. Now, we don't know the behind the scenes of it. Like maybe the coaching staff is saying, hey, I don't trust Tanner McKee. We don't trust Tanner. We need a backup in here with some experience.
Yeah.
We don't know how much of it is on the coaching and how much of it is on the front office saying we're going to get this quarterback because we need a veteran.
Yeah. Be interesting.
I don't disagree with the notion that McKee might be better.
No, nor I.
Yeah, it's just
yeah.
And then I agree.
He hasn't won. I mean, Pickett's won games in the league. Tanner hasn't played in the league.
And I do agree with the play calling. Like get under center a little bit, vary the run game if you're going to be so.
Throw on first down. Yeah.
Next question from Andrew. Slay was excellent in the first quarter. 4 quality plays on the first 2 drives. I was thinking the Eagles will move on from him in the offseason as they need to free up money for Bond and others. And because he's slowing down despite having a good year, I'm second guessing myself. Where would you put the odds on Slay remaining on the team in 2025?
Interesting question. And I think it's kind of complicated by Isaiah Rodgers being unsigned beyond this year. You have Keely Ringo, who I don't know. I think he has a chance to be a starting caliber guy, but Slay's played well. The problem with Slay is the injuries, and he's 34, be 35. Not a lot of corners play at a high level at that age. And you worry about him being able to stay healthy and being on and off the field. He's had a good year. I mean, he's played well. He obviously gave up the one.
Slay will turn 34 on January 1st.
January 1st, right? So next week, a couple weeks next week. Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously Slay's under contract, so that is going to play into it. I would say as of now, it's probably better chance that he's here than he's not here.
Really interesting. Yeah,
I don't think I would have said that. Week 1.
No way. Next year is the final year of his deal.
Right.
Small base salary, big cap number. I mean, he might want more money because it got paid out in bonuses.
Yeah.
Cap number of 13 mil next year. This is over the cap. A pre-June 1st cap hit cut would not work.
Right.
Post would free up around $4 million. in cap space. They'd have to carry that through June 1st. Yeah, it's a question that I think is not an easy answer once you get there.
Yeah. But he has played well. He's played better than I expected when he's been out there.
Which is,
he's missed a third of the season. Yeah.
And like, you have to have a backup who's always ready to go in. Like you see now, Isaiah Rodgers doesn't wait for anyone. He sees Slay go down, he's on the field. He's always ready.
Yeah. I mean, and like, if you bring Slay back, is Isaiah Rodgers going to even want to sign back here? Probably not. I don't know. He's good enough to be a starter. You have Keely Ringo.
Are you sure the rest of the league sees it?
I'm not sure of anything, but I think he's played well enough to be a starter. I mean, I think he's one of the top 64 cornerbacks in the league. I know he is. I like Keely's got that size and that range. He's, and
he's still really young.
And he's young and he's got speed. He's very handsy when he's out there, but that's something you can work on with him. I think he has a chance to be a starter, but I think Isaiah is better than him right now. And Slay's better than Isaiah. So it's complicated. Okay,
let's move on to the next question. Joel from Australia here. Love the podcast. I've been an Eagles fan since 2007, and I've listened to the podcast right from the start.
2007 is a weird year to become an Eagles fan. It was not a good year. Anyway, carry on.
For living halfway around the world, you helped me feel connected to the city of Philadelphia, which is awesome. I was lucky enough that I live right where the Eagles had their draft party and got to meet Jordan Mailata and watched him pick Quinyon Mitchell in the first round. It was such an awesome experience. My questions. There's a huge Eagles fan base in Australia, and the NFL launched the academy here. After the success of Brazil, would you ever expect the Eagles to have a regular season game down under? Have either of you been to Australia before? Would you like to come? What do you think?
I think it'll happen someday. I'm convinced it'll happen someday. I would love to go to Australia. I've never been there. You've never been there, have you?
Mm-hmm.
Long flight. If I could be in first class, I would do it. Use some American miles. I think the league's going to expand wherever it can, and already.
How would they do it logistically, though?
That'd be tough.
Yeah.
It's because the flight's so long. I don't know. Maybe they'll have a Super Bowl down there.
I don't think they would do that.
They probably wouldn't. I would
It'd be
love
fascinating.
I'd love to go there, though.
I might have told this on the pod before, but when I was in college, I always regretted this. They offered, it was like it was technically a course. You'd get like a few credits, and it was, I forget how much it was. It was relatively inexpensive, and it was a 22-day trip to Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. And I didn't do it because at the time I was working some stupid job and I needed to make money.
What was the job?
I don't remember which year it was. I might have been working in like a cable center, like getting yelled at by customers.
So you're still working for the same company?
Not really.
Kind of. So you skipped the trip just to stay home and work?
Yeah. And I always regretted it because at the time it was a lot of money. I forget. It was like, I think like $2,000 or something, which is like nothing for that type of trip. But at the time, it was like $2,000. I was a college kid.
Yeah.
Man, I always regretted it.
Yeah. That would have been fun.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, Joel. Next one is from John. Are we sure that Vic Fangio isn't going to get another look at being a head coach? What he's done with this unit of rookies, cast-offs, and guys who have underperformed last year is awe-inspiring. Is he really too old to not get another shot? If he does stay, will he become the next Jim Johnson for us?
Vic 66. Vic told me the other day this will be his last job. He said that in no uncertain terms. This is my last job. And 66. Look, and he's not going to get head coaching looks. I mean, Jim Johnson was younger, and I think he had one interview for a head coaching job the whole time he was here.
Why do you think that was?
I don't know. I never understood that. I don't know.
Did he I didn't know Jim Johnson at all. Did he have leadership of and get in front of the whole room and talk?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I never understood that. And he wanted that. He wanted to be a head coach. It just never seemed like some guys just get kind of typecast, I guess.
I think for a defensive coach too, like Vic, you get that one shot, it's going to be tough to get another.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. But every other assistant Andy ever had got a head coaching opportunity, and the best assistant he ever had didn't get one.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Weird. But yeah, I remember sitting in Boyko's office with Jim, and he just interviewed. I think it might have been with Arizona. I can't remember. And he was like, yeah, I'd love to do it, but I'm certainly not counting on it. And never happened.
Well, yeah, but getting back to Vic, I don't think he's getting another head coach.
No.
Okay. Pete. Hi, Reuben Dave. Why is nobody talking about Commanders Frankie Louvu punching Jalen's head into the turf? I'm sick and tired of Eagles QBs being knocked out of games with no repercussions for the defender. Remember when Clowney speared Carson Wentz in the back of the head to knock him out of a playoff game? How about when Shane Matthews drove Kevin Cobb's head into the ground? Yes, I've been following the Eagles for quite a while. That one still bugs me. I realize the league discourages retaliation, but the Louvu play deserved retaliation from one of the players that was exceptionally dirty. Thank you for a great show.
I never saw a replay, so I never saw it.
Yeah, there wasn't a great replay of it. I think it probably should have been a penalty. Now, was it like super dirty? That's tough to like parse. CJ Gardner-Johnson called it dirty in a tweet, and he said he was fired up after that. It's like that was more of a penalty than some other ones we've seen.
But, he's right. I mean, I remember Michael Vick, he used to be just like open season on him, and they never called anything. And I remember Andy Reid standing up there at his presser once and saying, this is ridiculous. Like, teams are just teeing off on Michael Vick, and there's never a penalty. And for a head coach, for Andy to say that was, he never said anything. But yeah, I mean, certainly the one on Carson, the one on Kevin Cobb. I've forgotten who it was, but yeah, there's been some ugly ones. I still believe that running quarterbacks don't get the same benefit of the doubt as pocket quarterbacks, and that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, especially like in this case, he's running full steam, especially like the slides.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe they picked up the flag on the Kenny Pickett one.
Yeah. Did you get a good look at that?
Yeah, that should have been a penalty.
Was there contact there?
Yeah.
It looked like he might have just sailed over him.
No, there was contact.
Okay.
And then the one on Milton they kept that, and that was
bizarre.
Yeah, it was just a weird referee game on both sides. It's like weird calls. We've seen a lot of that this year.
So in the Sixers game last night, certainly.
Mm-hmm. How about this? Like two prominent Philadelphia athletes getting tossed out for words in back-to-back games. CJ gets tossed out for words, and then Joel and words and a menacing.
That's interesting. But the Sixers bounced back and won that game without him.
Mm-hmm.
They made the adjustments. They're a different team without him. Go small, faster, fun to watch. How good is Maxey? Did you see the end of that game?
I didn't watch it.
Oh my God! He had a steal and then a slam and a free throw. I think he missed a free throw, and then Kelly Oubre got the rebound, and then Maxey hit a three to ice it all in like the last 30 seconds. He was incredible. What a player! Who's the equivalent to Maxey on the Eagles? Never mind. Let's just finish the pod. Sorry. Any more questions?
Yeah, there's a few that we'll get to. Right. This one from Patrick. Hi, Dave and Rube. Big fan of the podcast, as always. After watching the Eagles' frustrating loss to the Commanders, I couldn't help but feel like the offense really struggled to adapt when Jalen Hurts went down. With Kenny Pickett stepping in, the entire game plan had to be adjusted to fit his more traditional pocket passing style, which seemed to throw everything off. I like the idea of Marcus Mariota as a backup since he fit the system, but unfortunately he didn't perform well enough last season to stick around. Do you think the Eagles should keep prioritizing a system-fit backup, or does this loss make the case for reevaluating that approach? Looking forward to hearing your thoughts.
That's a great question. I mean, we touched on it a little bit. Those guys are hard to find. That's the problem. Like anybody who's got that skill set is probably starting.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's like, can they be effective enough passers to stick in the league as a quarterback?
Right.
Now, we did bring up Justin Fields, who was an interesting name.
Yeah.
Even if like you're not big on Justin Fields, he's an NFL player.
I like Justin. I'd rather have Justin Fields than Kenny Pickett.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's, and obviously stylistically he's closer fit. You wouldn't have to completely change the game plan.
Yeah, I don't think it's a necessary thing, but if you can find the right player to fit that mold, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like if it's like, a similar level quarterback and you can pick that style versus not that style, I think it makes sense.
Yeah. Now, if you can find a really, Nick Foles, if he was your backup to Jalen, like Nick Foles in his prime, you take that just because he's such a good player. Even though stylistically he's different, but Kenny Pickett's no Nick Foles.
I was kind of thinking because the zone read stuff was still on the table with Kenny.
Yeah.
He can move a little bit. He can run it. Run it once. Keep the defense honest.
Yeah.
I think that would have helped.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was not a great job by Kellen Moore.
I agree. Yeah. Next question from Clayshawn. I see a lot of people overreacting to this loss. Despite the defense being leaky, they did have 5 takeaways, so I don't think that's a concern. If Hurts has to sit out a week, I think a full week to prepare Kenny Pickett can be serviceable for one game. What do you guys think?
Yeah, if the defense played its normal game, you win the game. If Devontae catches a pass, you win the game. Yeah. They can certainly beat most teams with Kenny Pickett at quarterback just because they're really good. Yeah.
In terms of the defense, typically in a game where you get 5 takeaways, you win that game.
It was just it was a perfect storm of circumstances. Jaden Daniels got really hot.
And like I said, they made the play to win the game.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing to come back from when you make that play and then you think it's enough and then it's not and you got to do it again.
Yeah.
And they couldn't.
No.
Certainly on them for not being able to do it again and giving up all those points in the fourth quarter. But man, I just think that this defense has shown us enough over the last few months to still feel really confident in them. And even in a game where it wasn't their best, to get 5 takeaways is not nothing.
Right. First game they lost with 5 takeaways in 25 years.
It's rare in the league to happen.
I think in the last 10 years, NFL teams with 5 takeaways are 70. It was, I wrote it in my somewhere, 79-5, now 79-6. So that's, rarity.
Okay. Next question from Mike. Sure would love an explanation of why Dyami Brown was not given a penalty for punching CJ Gardner-Johnson in the head right in front of the officials. I've Googled, but have found nothing. I'm not excusing CJ, but I'm pretty sure the rules don't give you a free shot if you're taunted. Am I the only one who'd like an explanation?
Yeah, I didn't see that. It was just
I saw that.
I didn't see it. He punched him?
Oh, he knocked his helmet off.
Okay, well.
Yeah, and then you haven't seen that clip?
No.
At least?
No.
Yeah, he clear as day knocks his helmet off. Ref throws the flag, looks at CJ, gives him the penalty. Look. I've never seen a player get tossed out without some kind of physical something.
Yeah.
Now, is it possible that CJ really said some vulgar stuff? And I think, I think that's possible. But I also don't know if I love a player getting tossed out of a game for words only.
But again, these guys are going to be looking for CJ and Jalen Carter, and it's not fair. It's not right. But that's how that community goes. If guys get a reputation and it doesn't take much. In that case though, CJ has been good in his career of taunting to the point where a player loses his cool and they punch him and then they get the penalty. Yeah. In this case, it was kind of crazy to see a player hit him and have no repercussions. Yeah. And it was clearly seen it's just bad officiating. And the pool report basically said nothing. I wish we could inject a little truth serum before those pool reports because the league's just never going to admit fault. Yeah. And it's, and that's what we ask for the pool reports on calls that could go either way. And we think they might've made a mistake and they're never going to admit they made a mistake. So it's just it's futile. It's kind of like the rules interpreters that every network has. They're not going to criticize their former colleagues and their friends 99% of the time. Oh yeah, that's a good call. No, it's not. My least favorite thing about the rules interpreter is when they tell you what the rule is. Anyone can tell us what the rule is. Tell us what you think the call should be. Right. And they wait until the call is made and then they bring I want someone who can be this is what the call should be. Yeah. And I hate when they don't do that. Yeah. I don't need you to tell me what the rule is. I'm with you right there.
Okay, next question is from Revels. With the short kicks by Braden Mann against the Commanders and Jake Elliott's struggles, do you think it will be good if the Eagles allow Jake to handle kickoffs? I think so. I think it would keep him warm and engage him in the entire game instead of having him come off the bench cold for long field goals. Seems to me that kicking the ball deep would warm up his leg for deeper kicks. I was encouraged that the 56-yarder wasn't wide or left. I was okay with it being short, but I think if he's handling kickoffs, his leg would be warm for power.
Yeah, look, he's made a lot of field goals without kicking off. So I don't think I don't think being warm is the issue. It's just whoever's better at it. And like I said, Michael Clay left it open for Jake to do some of that as early as Sunday with Dallas. So we'll see how that goes.
I think they should make the switch. I'll go on record. I think they should make the switch.
I don't disagree. Yeah.
As far as like whether or not it would keep him warm, Jake was asked about that a few weeks ago, and he said it's not an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I have no way to know. I think I understand the thought process, and he did too. Like he's like, I understand why people would think that, but it's not an issue.
Yeah. And Michael Clay was asked if the reason Jake's not doing it is to save his leg. And he said, a lot of things go into that decision. And, it could be Jake or it could be Braden moving forward. So we'll see.
Next question is from Lyon from Switzerland. So I'm hoping I'm getting one of those.
How's that spelled?
Lioen.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Lioen.
But we appreciate you listening. Hey, Reuben, Dave, I discovered your podcast this year and now look forward to every episode. I love that you guys always keep things in perspective and don't exaggerate. Hence my question. I'm honestly fine with this loss to the Commanders because to me, it wasn't like last year where we got exposed against the 49ers or destroyed by a much better team. We lost, in my opinion, because we beat ourselves and some things went against us. Injury to Hurts, ejection, etc. I think a loss like this will fire up the team and give the team extra motivation for the playoffs, especially when you think about a potential rematch. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, the circumstances certainly it was an unusual set of circumstances. I think the fact that it's the same time as last year was going bad is it's hard to ignore that.
I mean, it had already gone bad by this point last year.
It had already gone bad, but it was still going bad.
Yeah, I don't really see any parallels, honestly, other than the time of year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens Sunday. But I'm not super concerned about it.
I'll put it this way. I don't really feel any differently about this team after that loss.
I wouldn't quite go that far. I'm a little concerned about the pass defense. They're young. These guys haven't been through this before. But I still think they have a really good roster, and I think they're a really good team. And I don't think there's a team out there that if they play well, they can't beat. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it took a lot of things in that game for the Commanders.
And that's that perfect storm I was referring to. Yeah, a lot of things had to happen for them to lose that game.
And that's not to say something like that couldn't happen in the playoffs and
sure.
you have an exit. Like, that's on the table. But, I still feel about the same about this team as I did before.
Yeah.
Okay. Want to do one more?
Yeah.
Let me find a good one to finish on. Let's get to this one. This is a non-football one from Jeremy. Hello, boys. My friend and I are going to our first Eagles game on 12/29 against the Cowboys. Hope you get here in time. We're from St. Louis and don't know the area at all. What should we check out while we are up there? Thanks for all your great podcasts.
Coming from St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much time they have here.
No.
I mean, there's obvious stuff. You want to go to the art museum. You want to, I don't know. I mean, it's just a great walking town. I would just spend some time walking around downtown. A lot of stuff. I don't know how much stuff is open this week. A lot of stuff is closed. I don't know. What do you think?
Do you have go-tos when people come in? Like, do you take them to go?
Our museum is probably big on that. Franklin Field, check out where the Penn Relays are held, where the Eagles won the 1960 NFL championship game.
Okay. Obviously, like history, good history in Old City. Take them to see the Liberty Bell. Independence Hall is always really good.
Betsy Ross House, right across the street.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool.
narrow stairways.
I don't know if I'm buying the Betsy Ross story. We'll get into that another day.
Oh, okay.
No, but definitely Independence Hall is really cool. Like this is where everything went down. Is fun. Constitution Center is great. It's a little more dense of a day if you go to the Constitution Center.
And right in that same area, like the Friends Meeting House, the William Penn, the Quaker Meeting House is right there. All that stuff's right in the same area.
Go to Reading Terminal Market, get some food.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Fun time down there. Speaking of food, I'm kind of getting hungry. We wrap this pot up?
Sure.
If you have a question for us, it's eagleeye@nbcuni.com. QR code on the screen for another second. Got any final words, Rube?
No, this is our last podcast before Christmas. So just want to wish everybody a happy and healthy holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. We really appreciate all the support all year. It's been a fun year. I think we have a lot of new followers and listeners and viewers, and we appreciate you guys and the people that have been with us all along. Even the haters. Wish the haters happy holidays, healthy, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, and if you do love us, you know what you can do? You can rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, you can click that like button and subscribe there as well. For Rube, I'm Dave. It's been the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you guys later in the week.